The ultimatum. The vast chamber of the Galactic Hegemony Council fell silent as the holographic projection of Earth rotated slowly at its center. The blue-green planet, third from an unremarkable yellow star, looked insignificant against the backdrop of the magnificent council hall. High Counselor Zorthax, his scaled skin shimmering under the ambient light, rose from his ornate throne. His 6 eyes narrowed with contempt as he addressed the assembled representatives of the 1,000 most advanced civilizations in the known galaxy. "This," he said, gesturing dismissively at the projection, "is what dares to reject our generous offer of protectorate status." A ripple of amusement passed through the chamber. Some delegates chittered, others hissed, and a few emitted low-frequency rumbles of derision. "Primitives who have barely managed to step beyond their own moon," remarked Kulera, the crystalline ambassador from Sirius. Her faceted body refracted light across the chamber as she shifted position. "Why do we even bother with formal proceedings? Simply take what we want." Earth had been discovered only 50 cycles ago by hegemony explorers. Initial observations had categorized humans as a Level 3 species, technologically capable of limited interplanetary travel, but woefully behind the Level 12 standard of the hegemony's founding races. By galactic law, such species could be offered protectorate status, a polite term for servitude. High Counselor Zorthax gestured to his aide. "Send the final communication. They have 1 planetary rotation to submit, or we demonstrate our displeasure." On Earth, in a hardened bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Eliza Chen stared at the translated message on her screen. Her dark eyes reflected the blue glow of the monitor as she read the ultimatum for the 3rd time. "They're not even trying to be diplomatic anymore," she said to the room full of military and scientific leaders. "Submit or be destroyed." Classic. General Marcus Hayes, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, leaned forward. His weathered face betrayed no emotion, but the tension in his shoulders was evident. "Doctor, please tell me Project Longbow is ready." Eliza swiped her screen, bringing up a complex schematic. "As ready as it can be without a live test. The Alcubierre Gen drive works in simulation. The targeting systems are calibrated. The payload, well, we've never done anything like this before." President Sarah Kimethi, attending via secure video link, spoke next. "The United Earth Council has voted. If the hegemony makes good on their threat, you are authorized to deploy Longbow." "Madam President," Eliza replied, "I need to emphasize that we don't fully understand the consequences. The theoretical models suggest." "We're out of time for theories, Doctor," President Kimethi interrupted. "We've spent 20 years preparing since we first detected their scout ships. Now we face extinction or submission. There is no third option." 12 hours later, the hegemony response arrived in the form of a massive warship entering Earth's orbit. At over 30 kilometers long, the dreadnought dwarfed anything humanity had ever constructed. Its hull absorbed rather than reflected light, appearing as a ship-shaped void against the stars. Smaller vessels, each still larger than an aircraft carrier, detached from the dreadnought and began descending toward major Earth cities. Their intent was clear: a display of overwhelming force to crush any thought of resistance. In his palatial command center aboard the flagship, Fleet Commander Grek Thar watched with satisfaction as targeting solutions appeared on his tactical display. "Begin with their military installations," he ordered. "Then their governmental centers. Leave the population centers for last. We want them to witness their futility." His weapons officer obediently entered the commands. "Kinetic bombardment ready, Commander. Planetary defense systems detected but classified as negligible." Grekthar settled back into his command chair. "Proceed." In her control center, Eliza received the alert that alien weapons were powering up. She took a deep breath and placed her palm on the biometric scanner. "Project Longbow. Authorization, Chen Alpha 7 Delta." The computer acknowledged with a soft chime. Targeting parameters. Primary target: Hegemony flagship. Secondary targets: support vessels. Engage when ready. Deep beneath the lunar surface, where humanity had secretly established their most advanced research base, something awakened. The massive circular accelerator, built under the guise of a particle physics experiment, powered up. Energy readings spiked as exotic matter formed in precisely controlled conditions. What the hegemony had dismissed as primitive fusion rockets and chemical propellants had merely been humanity's public face. Behind closed doors, Earth's scientists had made a technological leap that bypassed centuries of incremental progress. Aboard the flagship, Grekthar frowned as his sensors detected unusual energy readings from Earth's moon. "Analysis," he demanded. His science officer looked puzzled. "Unknown energy signature, Commander. It appears to be some form off." The officer never finished his sentence. A distortion in spacetime formed directly ahead of the flagship, a sphere of warped reality that seemed to bend light around it. Before any evasive action could be taken, the distortion expanded, enveloping the forward third of the massive vessel. When the distortion collapsed an instant later, that section of the ship simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, erased. The clean edge of the cut showed decks, corridors, and compartments exposed to space like a dollhouse cut in half. Atmosphere, crew members, and internal structures vented into the vacuum as emergency bulkheads tried futilely to contain the catastrophic damage. Grekthar was thrown from his command chair as the ship's artificial gravity fluctuated. Alarms blared and emergency lighting bathed the command center in red. "What happened?" he shouted over the chaos. "Unknown weapon." His tactical officers screamed back. It created a localized space-time event. 1/3 of the ship is just gone. On Earth, in the control center, Eliza watched the sensor readings with a mixture of awe and horror. "It worked," she whispered. The Alcubierre-Chen drive created a bubble of warped space-time, exactly as theorized. What she didn't say aloud was that they had weaponized a drive system intended for faster-than-light travel. The same technology that could one day carry humans to the stars had just been used to selectively erase matter from existence. General Hayes stood beside her, watching the tactical display as the crippled hegemony flagship listed in orbit. "Their support ships are pulling back," he noted. "Preparing a response, no doubt." Eliza nodded grimly. "Longbow needs 20 minutes to recharge. We've hurt them." But that was just one ship. In the Hegemony Council chamber, pandemonium erupted as news of the attack reached them. High Counselor Zorthax stared in disbelief at the damage assessment. "Impossible," he muttered. "They're primitives. Level 3. They cannot have such technology." Ambassador Coulera's crystalline form vibrated with agitation. "We have significantly underestimated these humans. Our intelligence has failed catastrophically." Zorthax slammed his fist onto the arm of his throne. "Deploy the entire 7th Fleet. I want that weapon technology seized and every human installation reduced to ash." His rage echoed through the chamber, silencing even the most vocal delegates. "We cannot allow a Level 3 species to possess technology that can threaten the hegemony." As the orders went out, no one in the council chamber noticed the small human observation probe that had infiltrated their supposedly impenetrable security systems, another indication that their assessment of human capabilities had been tragically flawed. Back on Earth, Eliza watched the sensor feeds with growing concern. "They're mobilizing, just as we expected. Sensor data shows multiple fleet signatures entering the system." She turned to the assembled military leadership. "Longbow was never designed to counter an entire fleet. We need time to reposition and recharge." President Kimathi's voice came through the speakers. "Dr. Chen, the United Earth Council has unanimously voted to deploy Phase 2. You are authorized to proceed." Eliza hesitated, her finger hovering over the command interface. "Madam President, Phase 2 was theoretical. We've never tested the cascading effect. The models suggest it could be more destructive than anticipated." "We are fighting for our existence, Doctor," the President replied firmly. "Proceed with Phase 2. As the hegemony's 7th Fleet, over 300 warships, prepared to exact vengeance, humanity revealed its second surprise. Tiny probes, launched years earlier and dismissed by hegemony sensors as space debris, suddenly activated throughout the system. Each contained a miniaturized version of the Alcubierre-Chen technology, not powerful enough to create weapons-grade distortions, but sufficient for another purpose. The coordinated network of probes began generating overlapping fields of distorted spacetime, creating navigational chaos for the incoming fleet. Ships found themselves unable to maintain formation as local space folded and stretched unpredictably around them. In the confusion, Longbow fired again, not at the ships, but at a precisely calculated point in empty space near the fleet's vanguard. The distortion was different this time, larger, more complex, and designed not to erase matter, but to trigger a chain reaction in the fabric of spacetime itself. As the hegemony fleet struggled to regroup, the distortion expanded exponentially, creating a cascading wave of warped space that engulfed ship after ship. Vessels caught in the effect didn't explode or break apart. They simply vanished, erased from reality, as if they had never existed. Within minutes, half the 7th Fleet had disappeared. The remaining ships, panicking now, attempted to retreat, but the distortion continued to grow beyond its predicted parameters. In her control center, Eliza stared at the readings in horror. "It's not stopping," she whispered. "The cascade effect. It's self-sustaining." The distortion expanded outward, growing from the size of a small moon to a sphere hundreds of thousands of kilometers across. It engulfed more hegemony ships before finally beginning to dissipate at the edge of the solar system. When it was over, nearly 80% of the hegemony's 7th Fleet had vanished. The survivors fled, jumping to faster-than-light speeds with no attempt to regroup or continue the attack. For the first time in its 10,000-year history, the galactic hegemony had been decisively defeated, and the galaxy would never be the same. Part 2. The Reckoning. The great hall of the hegemony fell silent as High Counselor Zorthax entered. The usual pomp and ceremony of his arrival was absent. No announcements, no honor guard, no ethereal music from the biomechanical orchestra. He moved with uncharacteristic haste to his elevated platform, his scaled skin dull with stress. "The reports are confirmed," he announced without preamble. "We have lost 79% of the 7th Fleet. Over 200 vessels, and nearly 1 million personnel. Gone." He didn't use the word destroyed. Destruction implied wreckage. Survivors, something remaining. The human weapon had left nothing. Ambassador Coulera's crystalline form dimmed perceptibly. How could we have been so wrong about their capabilities? An intelligence officer, a gray-skinned Medusan with writhing tentacular appendages, floated forward. "We have determined that the humans engaged in a systematic deception campaign. Their public space program and military technology were deliberately primitive, a facade. Behind this cover, they developed technologies that appear to manipulate the fundamental structure of spacetime itself." Zorthax's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of extreme agitation. "Can we replicate this technology?" The surviving vessels captured some sensor data, but it is perplexing. Our theoretical physicists are struggling to understand the principles involved. The intelligence officer paused. "It may be beyond our current scientific paradigm." The implications hung heavy in the chamber. For millennia, the hegemony had enjoyed technological supremacy. The idea that a supposedly primitive species had leapfrogged their understanding of physics was more than humiliating. It was existentially threatening. "We cannot allow this to stand," Zorthax declared. "Prepare the combined fleet. Every available warship. We will obliterate this human infestation before their technology can spread." On Earth, the celebration of their victory was tempered by the sobering reality of what they had unleashed. In the control center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Eliza Chen reviewed the telemetry data with growing concern. The space-time distortion expanded far beyond our model's predictions. She explained to the emergency session of the United Earth Council, "We're seeing residual effects throughout the solar system, gravitational anomalies, temporal fluctuations. We may have damaged the fabric of reality itself. President Kimethi's holographic projection looked grim. Can you control it if we need to deploy again? Eliza hesitated. Possibly. We're recalibrating based on the observed effects. But there's another problem. She brought up a new set of data on the main screen. Long-range sensors are detecting massive fleet movements throughout hegemony space. They're mobilizing everything they have. General Hayes studied the intelligence reports. Their combined fleet will make the 7th look like a scouting party. We're talking thousands of ships, not hundreds. Can Longbow handle that many targets? The president asked. It's not designed for that, Eliza admitted. And after what we saw with the cascading effect, I'm not sure we should risk it. We could trigger a runaway reaction that affects Earth itself. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Their miraculous weapon might be too dangerous to use against such a large force. But without it, Earth stood no chance against the full might of the hegemony. There may be another option, said a quiet voice from the back of the room. Dr. Sanjay Kapoor, Eliza's deputy on Project Longbow, stepped forward. We've been analyzing the quantum entanglement patterns created by the distortion field. There's a signature, a specific frequency, that appears to be unique to the hegemony ship's drive systems. Eliza's eyes widened as she grasped his meaning. You're suggesting we could calibrate Longbow to target only systems with that signature, create a distortion that would affect their ships but not other matter. Theoretically, Sanjay nodded. It would require precise tuning and significantly reduce the weapon's power. But it would allow us to engage their entire fleet without risking another uncontrolled cascade. Eliza finished. It's brilliant, Sanjay, but can we manage the recalibration in time? We'll have to, General Hayes interjected. Long-range sensors indicate the hegemony fleet will reach our system within 72 hours. President Kimethi made the decision. Dr. Chen, Dr. Kapoor, you have my authorization to implement this modification. General Hayes, coordinate with our lunar base and orbital platforms. We need to be ready for anything they throw at us. The next 3 days passed in a blur of feverish activity. The Longbow system underwent extensive recalibration, while Earth's conventional defenses, such as they were, prepared for the coming storm. Civilian populations were moved to hardened shelters. Every available spacecraft was armed and mobilized. In orbit around Neptune, automated sensors detected the first wave of the hegemony fleet emerging from faster-than-light travel. The Armada was staggering in its scale, over 3,000 capital ships surrounded by clouds of smaller vessels. At their center was the Dominion, the hegemony's supreme flagship, a vessel the size of a small moon. Aboard the Dominion, Grand Admiral Vextar surveyed the tactical display with cold determination. Having risen through the ranks of the hegemony military through ruthless efficiency, he had personally overseen the extermination of 12 species that had defied the Council. Earth would be the 13th. Preliminary scans of the system, his tactical officer reported. Human defenses appear minimal. A few hundred armed spacecraft, some orbital platforms. Nothing that poses a significant threat to our fleet. And their weapon? Vextar demanded. Energy signatures detected on their moon and at several locations on Earth, similar to what was recorded by the 7th Fleet before the incident. Vextar bared his teeth in what his species considered a smile. They caught us by surprise once. It will not happen again. All ships are equipped with emergency jump drives calibrated for micro-jumps. At the first sign of space-time distortion, they will relocate instantaneously. The vast armada accelerated toward Earth, spreading into a formation designed to envelope the entire planet. The strategy was simple but effective. Surround Earth from all sides, overwhelm any defenses with sheer numbers, and then systematically destroy every human settlement until nothing remained but ash. In the Lunar Control Center, Eliza watched the approaching fleet with a mixture of awe and dread. There are so many, she murmured. Even with the recalibration, Longbow can't target them all simultaneously. Sanjay nodded grimly. We'll have to be strategic. Target their command ships first, then their heavy weapons platforms. The communication system chimed. President Kimathi's face appeared on the main screen, her expression resolute. Dr. Chen, the hegemony has issued their final communication. They're demanding our unconditional surrender and the immediate handover of all longbow technology. And if we refuse? General Hayes asked, though they all knew the answer. They will, and I quote, erase humanity from the memory of the galaxy, the president replied. I've conferred with the council. Our response is being transmitted now. Earth does not surrender. As the hegemony fleet crossed the orbit of Mars, humanity launched its counterattack. But it wasn't what the aliens expected. Instead of activating longbow immediately, Earth deployed thousands of small, agile craft, drones piloted remotely from bunkers. These swarmed toward the hegemony vessels, weaving between their formation. Primitive attack craft, sneered Grand Admiral Vextar. Destroy them. The hegemony ships opened fire, energy weapons, and kinetic projectiles cutting through space. Many drones were destroyed instantly, but they were never intended as a serious threat. They were a distraction and a delivery system. Each drone carried a miniaturized quantum resonator tuned to the specific frequency Dr. Kapoor had identified. As they darted between the alien ships, these devices activated, attaching quantum tags to the hegemony vessel's drive systems. Energy fluctuations detected in the human drones, reported Vextar's science officer with sudden alarm. They're emitting some kind of quantum field. Vextar realized the trap too late. Initiate emergency jumps. Now. But as the hegemony ships attempted to micro-jump away, longbow activated. This time, the weapon didn't create a single massive distortion. Instead, it generated thousands of precisely targeted micro-distortions, each one locked onto the quantum signature of a specific hegemony drive system. The effect was like watching stars blink out one by one. Hegemony ships vanished in rapid succession, not exploding or breaking apart, but simply ceasing to exist as the fabric of space folded around their drives and removed them from reality. In the Lunar Control Center, Eliza watched the sensor readings with intense concentration. The targeting is working. The distortions are remaining contained to their ships. Sanjay monitored the system's power levels. Longbow is at 90% capacity and holding steady, no signs of cascade effects. For 20 minutes, the systematic erasure continued. Nearly half the hegemony fleet disappeared before the remaining ships managed to regroup. Then, something unexpected happened. The Dominion, the massive flagship at the center of the fleet, unleashed a new weapon of its own, a gravitational pulse that disrupted the quantum entanglement longbow relied upon. We're losing targeting lock. Sanjay shouted as alarms blared throughout the control center. They'd found a countermeasure. The remaining hegemony ships, still numbering over 1,000, formed a new attack pattern and accelerated toward Earth. Without the precise quantum targeting, longbow couldn't risk firing again without potentially triggering another uncontrolled cascade. All conventional defenses, engage, ordered General Hayes, knowing it would hardly slow the alien armada. In orbit, Earth's meager fleet of armed spacecraft moved to intercept, joined by automated defense platforms. They fought with desperate courage, but against the technological superiority of the hegemony, they were hopelessly outmatched. One by one, Earth's defenses crumbled. Orbital platforms exploded in silent bursts of light. The defensive fleet was reduced to scattered survivors. The hegemony pressed their advantage, closing on Earth with vengeance in their hearts. In the control center, Eliza made a decision. We have one option left, she said quietly. The theoretical Phase 3. President Kimathi's hologram looked alarmed. Dr. Chen, Phase 3 was deemed too dangerous even to simulate. The potential consequences are better than extinction. Eliza finished. This is my responsibility. I'll need final authorization. After a moment of heavy silence, the president nodded. Authorized, Dr. Chen. May God help us all. Eliza turned to Sanjay. Reconfigure longbow for a reverse cascade. Target the focal point at the coordinates I'm sending now. As Sanjay worked frantically at his console, Eliza explained to the others, instead of creating distortions that erase matter from spacetime, we're going to create a distortion that erases spacetime from matter. What does that even mean? General Hayes asked. It means we're going to temporarily remove a section of the universe from the universe, creating a bubble of non-existence that should, theoretically, close itself, but anything caught inside when it forms. She didn't need to finish. The implications were clear and terrifying. The coordinates Eliza had selected were precisely calculated, a point in space that would encompass the majority of the hegemony fleet while remaining far enough from Earth to minimize the risk of catastrophic damage to the planet. Longbow reconfigured, Sanjay announced. Reverse cascade primed. Eliza took a deep breath. Fire. Unlike previous activations, there was no visible effect at first. The sensors detected an infinitesimal pinpoint of absolute nothingness forming at the targeted coordinates. Not darkness, not empty space, but a complete absence of existence itself. Then it expanded. A perfect sphere of non-existence grew outward, engulfing hegemony ships by the hundreds. It wasn't a weapon in any conventional sense. It was the temporary removal of a portion of reality itself. Ships didn't explode or disappear. From Earth's perspective, they simply never were while caught in the effect. The sphere continued to grow until it encompassed nearly the entire hegemony fleet, including the massive Dominion. For 30 seconds that felt like an eternity, a bubble of non-reality existed where moments before there had been thousands of warships intent on humanity's destruction. Then, exactly as Eliza's calculations had predicted, the bubble collapsed, reality rushing back to fill the void. But when normal spacetime reasserted itself, the hegemony fleet was gone. Not destroyed, erased from the timeline, as if they had never existed at all. In the great hall of the hegemony, chaos reigned. The combined fleet, their mightiest military force, had ceased to exist. All contact had been lost in an instant. Even their quantum-entangled communication systems had gone silent, their endpoints no longer existing to receive signals. High Counselor Zorthak stared at the emergency reports in disbelief. They'd eliminated our entire fleet. How is this possible? Ambassador Kulera's crystalline form had dimmed to near transparency, a sign of extreme distress in her species. This goes beyond weapons technology. The humans have demonstrated the ability to manipulate reality itself. The implications were too terrible to contemplate. If humans could erase entire fleets from existence, what else might they do? Could they remove planets, stars, entire civilizations? For the first time in its long history, the galactic hegemony knew fear. 3 days later, a single human vessel, small and unassuming, appeared in orbit around the hegemony's capital world. It transmitted a simple message to the Council. The galactic hegemony will immediately recognize Earth's sovereignty and independence. All aggressive actions against Earth and human interests will cease permanently. In return, Earth will share certain technological developments, under strict conditions and oversight, to benefit all species. This is not a negotiation. You have one planetary rotation to respond. In the council chamber, debate was brief and subdued. The humans had demonstrated power beyond anything in the hegemony's experience. They had no choice. High Counselor Zorthax personally transmitted the acceptance. On Earth, the news was met with cautious celebration. Humanity had survived its first contact with a hostile galactic power, not through submission, but by revealing the ingenuity and determination that had always been their greatest strengths. In her office at the newly established Earth Diplomatic Corps, Dr. Eliza Chen reviewed the initial responses from various hegemony worlds. Many expressed relief at the prospect of technological exchange. Some, those that had long chafed under hegemony rule, were more effusive, seeing humanity as potential liberators. "We've changed the galaxy," she said to Sanjay as he brought her the latest reports. "For better or worse." "They underestimated us," he replied with a slight smile. "They saw our old rockets and combustion engines and assumed we were primitive." "A mistake they won't make again," Eliza said, looking out her window at the stars, "and one the rest of the galaxy would do well to remember." In the centuries that followed, humanity expanded cautiously into the stars. The hegemony gradually transformed from an empire into a more equitable alliance of worlds, with Earth as a key member. The technology behind Longbow was never used as a weapon again, instead being adapted for peaceful purposes: instantaneous communication, efficient energy production, and eventually, the development of true faster-than-light travel. But throughout the galaxy, the story was told of how the mighty hegemony had laughed at Earth's primitive defenses until a single shot had erased their greatest warship from existence, and humanity had taken its rightful place among the stars.